What trends do you think that would dictate the auto sales numbers going forward? Because that festive cheer sort of has subsided. You know that base effect is definitely into play, so which is why those percentage numbers would look bloated. But tactically, what do you think would dictate the auto industry sales going forward?
Well, I think, it's fundamentally going to be price and cost of ownership, which really dictates sales in India. Overall, we are a very price sensitive market. Of course, Diwali, it wasn't fireworks, just
No.
a bit of a glimmer, a bit of a sparkle. And I think, we aren't going to see that level of sales, I think, going forward, especially as we move towards BS6. You might have a last minute spurt as people kind of clear out their inventory. But what I'm worried about is post 2020, we are in for what I would call a bit of a drought in terms of sales, in terms of company profits.
Why is that?
Well, I think what's happening is that the whole cost of ownership is going to go up dramatically. For one, I think about 350,000 diesel cars will go out of the market completely. And there's no substitute for diesel, to be honest. They can't be replaced one-to-one with petrol or CNG or any other alternative fuel. And with that, you're going to have, running costs going up dramatically. As it is, we get complaints of customers complaining of low fuel consumption on these new cars, which are turbo petrol and automatic, very, very high on fuel consumption. They're great to drive, very smooth, but they just don't give the economy of diesel. So I think with diesel going, especially in a market like India, which really is diesel driven to a large extent, I think that's going to be a hit. Then, especially on the two-wheeler space with going up to BS6, it's very, very price sensitive. Again, costs are going to go up there. So I think net costs are going to shoot up dramatically beyond April 2020. And also what I see is that a lot of models are going to be dropped because the lower volume projections just doesn't make the investment in them viable. So you're going to have models like the Honda Jazz going, the Corolla going, variants of the Renault Duster going, which is quite, popular with Renault. You've got, Honda removing a lot of models as well. So I think, going forward, the choice also is going to be limited, and there's no one coming in the hatchback space, which is now dominated by Maruti and some extent Hyundai. But there's only so much two players can do over there. So I think it's not going to be looking good beyond April 2020.
Can I say that, look, the sales may not do well, but companies will be very conscious of how much discount they're going to give now. They will say, okay, we are in a low sales area, but we may be in a good profit area, because whatever you will sell, you will have good margins. Whatever you will sell high profitable models, and whatever inventory built up had happened, hopefully next 2-3 months will get cleaned out.
Absolutely. I think, Nikunj, you're absolutely right. And that is the mantra going forward for not automakers here, but globally, especially in this push towards electrification, where capex and resource is so scarce. The mantra is focus on your profitable lines and drop the unprofitable model lines. But for the customer, that's not necessarily good, because, there's not enough aggressive discounting because the manufacturers don't have an appetite for that, and there's not enough choice. So choice is going to be more limited. It's going to be, not as wide as before. And I think we are looking at a new normal where I think we'll have to recalibrate what our number forecasts are going to be. So, that 5 million, which was hoped going to come in 2020, I think that's going to be pushed by a long time. So I don't think we're going to get that huge growth anymore because of this, because companies are going to be a little bit more circumspect in the way they introduce models, and they want to do it profitably as well.
I want to pull out that tweet from Anand Mahindra where he says that, look, the industry should move to the retail reporting. Also, this time around, the uptick has been double digit. Is he being over optimistic here?
No, I think, obviously retail is a more realistic way of going, because wholesale, our numbers is more vanity, to be honest, and retail is more sanity, because that's really the way that's frankly what the customer is buying the products.
When retail started slowing down, no one said, let's start reporting the retail data, focus on wholesale data.
Exactly.
Now retail is picking up, start reporting the retail data.
Yeah, but I think going forward, it's really the more realistic way of doing it. I think retail should be, the numbers which are reported, because then it puts less stress on the dealer. The dealers are dumped with less stock, and the pipeline is more taut. It's more manageable. As far as M&M goes, I think they are going to be going full steam ahead with BS6 diesel, and what we've been told is that the cost impact isn't going to be as much as with some other companies. Maruti has been talking of huge cost escalation with diesel. Mahindra seems to have managed that, and while I fully agree that the market is moving towards petrol, but there is a big chunk over there which is still diesel driven, especially the fleet segment. And just want to reiterate that is going to have some impact on volumes. But I think this again is a big opportunity for certain players, like especially the Hyundai Group, where they're investing big on diesel. They're launching new diesel engines because they want to take advantage of the vacuum that Maruti is going to leave by exiting the diesel segment. So while there is a shift to petrol, a dramatic shift to petrol, diesel still forms a large proportion of sales.
Okay, so Hyundai it is in the overall pie, but within the listed domestic players, who do you think will win the battle in the run up to April 2020 and beyond, of course?
Well, I think Maruti is doing a smart thing. They are moving towards petrol in kind of keeping with market trends over there. They're pushing more on petrol, so I think they're hoping to get more of a petrol share. Clearly, they're going to lose out a bit on diesel. I think M&M, I think we have to see how the association with Ford pans out in the long term. It's quite an exciting JV which they're planning. On paper, it makes a lot of sense, sharing synergies, sharing cost, sharing development of new products. I mean, today that again is the mantra. You can't go it alone, especially when resources are limited. So I think Mahindra has got potential. I think the one has to really worry about is Tata Motors. Again, their numbers haven't been really good. And though JLR has shown some spark because of a bit of revival of China sales, I think net, especially the domestic market, I think tough times ahead for them.
Almost, this entire Uber phenomenon, I think, is real. We can experience it, we can feel it, and we all are part of it. Uber is in a tough spot. Uber is sacking employees. The losses they are making are not going to be bearable by any listed company. What happens that the Uber phenomenon has peaked out? I'm asking a very long-term kind of big picture question here. But the evidence is that the number of cars which Uber fleet was adding in India, that has reduced dramatically because the commissions for drivers are not there. Uber is no longer as viable as it was 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. What happens if this phenomenon starts reversing?
Well, I think, Uber is one specific case, I think, but what is irreversible is the concept of shared mobility and, let's say, ride sharing. And frankly, the convenience of that now with technology has made the fact that you really don't, you're not inconvenienced not owning a car. So Uber may be gone today, there'll be someone else tomorrow. You've got now people looking at subscription models where they don't really need to own the car. They can, for a fee, they can just rent it out. So I think, conceptually there has been a shift, especially with millennials, where they want to invest more in experiences which they can put on Instagram rather than assets. So I think that's really one way forward. But having said that, there is still a big pull on buying new cars. That still is there, especially in India, where motorization rates are still very low. That aspiration is still very strong. But we can't ignore the fact that especially in metros, there are people who just find owning a car no longer an attraction or an aspiration.